Hey guys, this stream's gonna do something different for a while. Look around. I see all these race riots are still going on, right? People are still rioting and blowing stuff up, and I want to tell you that's not smart to riot because when you riot, you're not just protesting like injustice. You're protesting America, right? You're saying that the other countries have it better. So you're like saying our injustice here is less than the injustice in China, right? You're saying when we protest here, it's like less injustice in China. Like China has it better when protesters get abducted by police, um, get anesthetized, and then their organs harvested and sold on the black market. You're saying America's worse than that. When you protest America, you're saying Iran's rule. They're ruled by fear. They're ruled by like imprisoning anybody they don't like. They do it better. So like that's what happens when you riot. It's not good. You don't protest America. America's a great place. I think like the economy is intertwined, right? Imagine like a sock maker over in like Indonesia, right? No one thinks much about him. Like, what's that guy? It's just a super sock maker. He just makes 50 cents an hour, and what a loser. But like, imagine if he just does his job really well every day, and due to his efficiency, socks are cheaper over in America. An American researcher saves like $20 buying these cheap socks over the time. He's like, dude, I have an extra $20. I'm gonna just go to the lab. Maybe this is an undergrad guy doesn't have a lot of money. He's like, I'm gonna go to the lab. Boom, he makes a discovery. He cures cancer. It cures a disease. Because this random sock maker was like made his life easier, right? The economy's intertwined, and the same goes true. Like that same researcher, like, well, he's like, well, I'm gonna go to office to get maybe research, but he's like, oh, dude, someone bricked my car, flattened my tires, like set my gas tank on fire. I can't even get to work right now, right? So like a brick thrower, a rioter can like hurt disease research. You can hurt society. So rioting isn't good. Like just get out of your head that rioting is good. It's terrible. There's nothing about it. Like thing is like it isn't that they're like I understand like racism is wrong, right? Everybody knows racism is wrong. We've known racism is wrong since like the Cosby Show. He enlightened stuff and like it's like love everybody, right? You're supposed to love everybody and like but before the Cosby Show, there was like 30% of the people were racist, right, in the 80s. Like, there's a lot of people were racist in the 80s. But after the Cosby Show, like, no one, like, there was no racists anymore that I know of. Like, I know 499 people. I know 500 people. 499 aren't racist. The one that says something sketch sometimes, we sit them down. We have intervention. We talk them through it. It's like so like racism is not an issue. But if people perceive that racism issue, perceive that people hate them, then in their mind, people hate them. So like they want to lash out, right? So let's look at it. We know Democrats give CNN marching orders. You can Google that. They're liberal. CNN's liberal. Everybody knows that, and they display their news based on what they want to push as the agenda, right? So like they're master of puppeteer of society. Everything they play has a spin on it. Everything CNN plays has spin on it. If they can't spin their news for their political ideals, they don't even play it, right? It's like it's biased. It's not unbiased. Like think about science. Like there's unbiased science and there's biased science. Like you might be an unbiased scientist, but the people who interpret your results might be biased, right? Like imagine like a corporate scientist, like only pushes stuff that's positive to their brand, right? There's a big famous example of this Lucky Charms. There's a guy. There's a commercial. I don't know where it's at. It's probably on YouTube maybe. But it says Lucky Charms is a health food because oats are good for your heart, and something that's good for your heart is a health food. They just it's like they interpret like the strangest data to make themselves look good. Like anybody like thinks Lucky Charms is a health food, I have news for you, man. Like the reason why you're not losing weight, dude, is maybe because you're pounding some marshmallows. Why don't you actually like eat some great greens or like like raisin bran or like some bananas, some fruits, not things that like not fruity pebbles. Like anyway, you got lied to. Lucky Charms is not a health food. Sorry guys, it's brainwash. You gotta watch out for being brainwashed. Lucky Charms is not a health food. I hate to break it to you. I know it's tasty, but there's other alternatives that are just as tasty, like raisin bran. Okay, so CNN knew it would cause race riots if it focused on hate. They're propaganda master. Like Pulitzer Prize was based on a propagandist, famous propagandist, and everybody wants to be a propagandist since then. That's what the news is. It's based up of propaganda. They push division. They put not just racism here. Like CNN's pushing racism, but they can also push ageism. Remember, like you never heard anybody say bad things about another generation unless it comes from the news. Remember, it was like I think it was like Newsweek said millennials are lazy. It's like, where'd that come from? Like, everybody's like, well, why the hell are you calling me lazy? Like, you don't even know me. Like, you should call it like, and it's like, because the news wants the people to get that reaction. Like, well, we hate the other generations calling me lazy. It wasn't the other generation to call you lazy. It was the news. The news pushes division. They push division via race, which is happening right now. The sex, man versus woman, came up around after Hillary Clinton, because like Hillary Clinton lost the election because she's a woman. They tried to say, not, but Hillary Clinton lost the election because the Christian voters didn't vote for abortion. Abortion's evil, right? It's like the most evil thing you can possibly do is kill your baby, right? Like, I mean, it's right up there with like abduction and like torture, right? Like, abortion is evil, right? So like the Christians are just going to vote against that all the time. So like Hillary lost because of abortion, but they're trying to say, oh, it's because a man are sexist and blah blah blah. So you got man versus woman. We talked about racism before, ageism, and the one they don't like to push a lot is rich versus poor. You know, so like they have all these things they push division. The reason they want to do division, here's the reason why they do division in general. Like why they're always pushing division, always pushing like one thing to make you argue. Like the news wants to make you argue. You ever talk politics with someone, they argue? That's because the news did that by design. They do a single topic, they hammer it down, they make it seem like this political topic that has like thousands and thousands of ways of looking at it, only has one right way of looking at it, everybody else is wrong. Just argue with them, and then it's like and since they focus on that, that's all it drills into people's heads. They get brainwashed by the news and they go out and argue, right? So like by getting us to argue, grassroots doesn't happen. Like no one's saying like here, let's look at this thing, let's look at laws that could be happening if we had grassroots. Like where's my law change? Okay, so imagine if like you know about tort, right? You know, you lose your house. I mean, because like people get hurt on your property, so you don't want people on your property because you don't want to get hurt. Everybody puts up no trespassing signs. We turn into like a big antisocial society that we are right now, right? But like, don't you wish you could invite local people to the bands, like to bands to jam? Like you go to your farm and you say, let's have some people rock out on the farm, yeah. And then someone like trips in like a groundhog hole, right? They trip in a groundhog hole, and then they break their leg, and you're like, well, that sucks. I mean, I'm sorry for you. Then they sue you for a lot of money, and you have to end up selling your property, right? No one wants to lose their property. No one wants to lose their money because some dude just tripped in like got hurt on they would have probably got hurt somewhere else. You know, they're on your property, got hurt, and it's not your fault. There's a groundhog hole there, but they'll say it's your fault. You're negligent, and like they're always trying that, and it's like so that would be a law I would change. Like let people like chill out on other people's property without suing them for their property, right? I mean like just get rid of what's negligent, you know. Like sure, you trip on a sidewalk wasn't a thing. Well, they shouldn't have been walking on them. It's like come on people's property on risk, you know. Don't like you trip over like a bad step or something, you know. That just happens, you know. That stuff happens. Like but like the obvious thing you want to leave in is like you know if someone's building like a man trap, like a pit with spikes at the bottom and you fall on it, dude. Like they should get sued, right? But like you know like little piddly things like you know a tree falling on them or like you know they didn't know the stream was like rushing or whatever, like that's their fault. Like so like don't make like people being stupid like be the reason why we can't associate with each other. Like I'd love to like imagine how hippie that would be, like how Woodstock like life would be if, like there's like free concerts going on all the time. And I think you know one of the reasons they don't do this because they want to charge money for people who do gather. You know, they have that liability insurance. You know, you ever notice every event has liability insurance. The reason that you pay so much money for your concert is because if someone gets hurt, they get sued, lose that money. It's all for lawyers, you know, for them make them rich, make the lawyers rich, and then you know lawyers make the laws. So they don't want to change this, but like this would be a law. You know, grassroots. We could say, hey, let's just say we can't get sued if we're on another person's property. Right? We could don't get sued if we chill out and we're all together dancing and singing and jamming out to like whatever songs you like. You know that would be a law change, like lower the tort, right? Tort change, right? And then another one is like let's look at the cable companies versus the power companies, right? The power companies all share the cable, right? You might be like 5 power companies within your area. You can get power from any of those companies, and they'll just split they'll use the cables, and it's all communally shared cables, and like you know your power bill is maybe $100 a month, right? Imagine if there's only one power company that controlled all the cables, and no other power company could compete with them. What happens when there's no competition? It's called a monopoly, and they charge more. That's what's going on with cable companies right now. So, like, if we had grassroots, we could say, hey, cable companies and fiber optics should share the pools. That way, your cable bill would go down 5 to 10 as much as it is now. It would be 5 to 10 cheap, 5 to 10 times cheaper. You'd be paying 10% or 20% of your current bill if the competition was actually used. We're in America, you know. America is a place of competition. So, like, we shouldn't let people sue people out of competition. Like, Comcast bribes the FCC. Google Meredith Atwell Baker. They bribe the FCC. FCC is supposed to be like consumer protection, right, for the little guy, right? But like when they're bribed by the big guy, well, the big guy controls them. Then there's no regulation over these big guys. So like, even though we should have competition and stuff, we don't. If we had grassroots, we could say that's wrong, right? But like, since we don't have grassroots, they tell you what to do. Like, if we're not telling the politicians what's best for us, they're going to tell you what they're doing is best for you, and they're always going to tell it's best for you, no matter what they do. They could be selling out to China, or like they could be like, we just gave Texas to like Mexico. And like it's like we just get Texas to Mexico, and it's your best interest because Texas wasn't even good anyway. I'm saying like politicians like are bribed. Like all the politicians are bribed, basically. Basically, all the politicians are bribed. So when they're bribed, they just do whatever the person that bribes them tells them, and then they tell you why it's good for you. That's why they want to cause division. Because when they cause division, we argue and we never get grassroots and tell them what to do. They're always telling us what to do, right? So that's what the division is. That's why news pushes the division. Just be aware of that. And like another one is you shouldn't be forced to buy from private corporations, right? Like look at health insurance, man. Obama screwed us so hard when he said you have to buy from a private corporation because then now they can deny your coverage, right? You go to the hospital and like they're fighting tooth and nail over you getting pain medication or you getting treatment. Like I know people that got refused treatment because the health insurance doesn't like it. My mom she's a nurse and she has to deal with insurance agencies and they will argue for 3 hours over a bottle of pills that cost like $1 for like 30 days. Like so they just wasted all that money. They could just gave the pills, but they want to argue. They nonstop deny claims. People have cancer, they should get cured. People have things that are easily curable, they don't get cured because there's these greedy people, these middlemen who they're not doctors, they're not nurses, they're not administrators. They're just guys that just soak up money and say we're the middlemen, right? They don't belong there. So like you shouldn't be forced to buy from corporations. Like they should have nationalized healthcare. They shouldn't have privatized it. Like by forcing you to buy from private corporations, it just props up these greedy people, right? Like look at insurance, man. Like car insurance, right? You shouldn't have to buy car insurance. Like you're paying like $80 a month on car insurance, right? Because you're forced to buy it. If you don't buy from this private corporation, the government says you can't drive at all, right? You have to buy from someone. Just you got to buy. It's like why don't we just put like things in a tax fund, and if someone has is really bad off, that person will be like a tragedy fund. Like put $5 a month for a tragedy fund, we'll be good. It's like no. You pay the $80, fund their lawyers, fund the people being sue happy, and that's just the price to pay. So you're forced to buy health insurance, or forced to buy car insurance. They force sewage on people. You might have an outhouse, right? You might never really or you had like a septic tank more likely, and it's like you never really had to pay sewage, and there's no problem. You're not causing no problems. But if they come in and say, hey, we're a bunch of totalitarian jerks, we're going to shut your water off unless you get sewage, and they did that local in Hutchinson, they did that in my local area right here. Like they just came in like a bunch of jerks. Like I know a guy who owns 10 houses down there, dude. He had to pay $75,000 in tap-in fees, and he pays $1,000 a month extra on the bills. Like it makes the environmentalists are like, I love environmentalists, I love it and everything, but it's you can go so Captain Planet that you're like defeating yourself, right? Like if you make everybody impoverished, like you save this animal, save that, save blah blah blah, but then like everybody's so impoverished that they're like buying temporary goods and they consume different things, and it's actually bad for the environment for people to be impoverished, right? So you don't want people impoverished. So like forcing people to pay $100 like a month for sewage when they don't even have to do that because you're a bunch of jerks. Like that should not be forced to private. You should not be forced to buy from private corporations. So those are like 3 law changes I think would be good. Tort. So let's have parties on people's houses. Like people with farms go everywhere you want, man. Trespass anywhere. I'm not trespassing anywhere. You still have no trespassing, obviously. If you don't want people on your land, put no trespassing signs. But like if people want people over their house, they shouldn't have a great liability penalty. That's just terrible. Like that law is designed because they don't want you to socialize. Like I said, again, they don't want you coming together. A bunch of hippies coming together, telling what's good for the world. They don't want that. They want you opposed in your car and like fighting each other and like fighting in traffic and like arguing. Because like if you're dividing, you don't tell them what to do. They get to do whatever they want and tell you why it's good for them. All right. So anyway, that's why they do division. Let's go back to the original thing. We're talking about CNN knew it would cause race riots if it focused on hate. By rubbing people's faces in hate, people are going to hate back. I mean, if you love, you love back. If you're hated, you get hate back. CNN knows this. This is why CNN under marching orders of the Democrats, evoked Operation USA riots. That was a big plot, by CNN to cause the riots, and just want everybody to know that. So what are the Democrats? What are the Democrats who push this stuff? Well, who are the Democrats who push this stuff? Well, we think some think tanks are pushing it, and the leaders such as Nanci Pelosi and Biden push it. So we're looking at Joe Biden, who wants the U.S. to riot so that he can look like it wasn't him that caused the riots, right? You don't want to be known to be the guy that caused the riots, even though he was the guy that caused the riots. Then he comes in now and he wants to try and play the savior. It's like Joe Biden, inflaming racial tensions, harm, and hatred just to seize control of a country. No, because he wants to be known as your savior. Reminds you of a dude who poisons you for life, so you're a cripple, but gives you an antidote so you don't totally die. Then he expects you to honor him as a nobleman. That's Joe Biden, right? Like it's really sad. Like this whole rioting, like you should stop, man. If you're a rioter, stop that shit. Unless you actually honestly hate America, you're like an Iranian or something, you're at war with us. Like, then I can understand why you're destroying America. You love China, you're a China sympathizer. You think people should protesters should have their organs harvested, and you're out there protesting. I mean, don't you see the irony that's going on there? I wish my organs were being harvested. Like, oh God, dude, like. Stuff is terrible in the rest of the world, and you hate this place. This is the place of freedom. You can say anything you want against the country's leaders, right? You say whatever you want about Trump. People say crazy things about Trump. You can say whatever you want. You're not going to go to jail. Trump can't go like, you're going to jail because I don't like you. I'm going to put you on the gallows. Like all the kings of all the other time. Like a lot of the countries right now, right? You can say whatever you want about the people in charge. Like that makes America beautiful, makes America great, It's like, yeah, bad things happen in our history. Bad things happen in every country's history. I mean, if you go back in your ancestors, I'm sure they did some bad stuff. Well, you do bad stuff. We're all sinners, right? But like we try and do good. Like, and it always just seemed like things were looking up more and more since like the Cosby Show. Like it just feels like we are the world. We are the people. We're the ones that make a brighter future. Let's keep on living. We are the world. It's like that's where we were. We were like anti-racism. Like there wasn't a lot of racism, but like if CNN says everybody's a racist, we're covering it. This guy's a racist. This guy's a racist. It's like they're doing their best to search for the worst of society, to showcase it, to make it look like all society is bad. There might be like millions of loving incidents that happen every day. Millions of loving things happen every day. But if CNN chooses the most hateful ones, like, and just rubs your nose in it, then like some people think there was nothing but hate around. Let's just hate and let's fight. Let's fight against the powers to be, like that are they don't understand. They're just fighting against themselves, right? So don't riot. You just hurt where you live. Dead Kennedys had it right. Today's a high, tomorrow's the gas. Today's the riots and tomorrow you're homeless. When you riot, you destroy your own house. You destroy your place. So unless you hate America, unless you love Iran, unless you love China, love our enemies, that wants to defeat us, like, don't riot, dude. Stop that shit. Like, come on, dude. God loves you, man. There's a guy upstairs. Like, the person that's truly in charge is God. His name is Jesus, right? And he's the God of love. You do everything in love, and you're good. And rioting isn't love, right? Rioting, I can see why you maybe say riot against, like, true injustice, but America's the place of freedom, right? You can say whatever you want against the guys in charge. You can do whatever you want. You can choose what you want to do for a living, right? If you grow up in Russia, Magnitogorsk, right? You're going to be a steel worker when you grow up. You don't have a choice. I mean, maybe things have changed, but like the Soviet Union, they just told you what to do. It's like, well, I want to dance and sing. I want to be a lumberjack. I want to be a video gamer. I want to be a professional sports player. It's like, no, guess what, dude? You're a steel mill person. Because this is not a land of freedom. Living in the land of freedom, you get to choose what you get to do for a living. Like, America's amazing, and I can't get into it. Like, food's cheap. Like, you go to other countries, they don't have grocery stores. Venezuela tanked their economy because, like, the guy in charge just wants to be like a leader. Like, there's a lot of people in the world. Imagine this: a lot of people in the world who just want to get like the status of power without actually helping society. They're not like Solomon of the Bible, right? Remember Solomon's prayer? Remember Solomon's prayer to get wisdom? Where did it start? It says, he made the temple. Solomon's making the temple, and God comes to him, and like Solomon prays to God. It's like, dear God. God's like, I'll give you anything you want. Just tell me. And Solomon's like, you know what? I'm going to ask for wisdom because I want to rule my people in such a way that's good for the people. I want all those people to be just. I don't want anybody to have hardship. I don't want things to go bad with my people. I want to rule for them, and it's going to be a personal responsibility for me to rule. So give me wisdom to be able to rule these people and help them, right? Boom. So God's like, you know what? You didn't wish for death of your enemies. You didn't wish for like long life. You didn't wish for like a harem of women. You didn't wish for like tons of money. You didn't wish for like anything selfish. You wish for what's other people, and because you're selfless, I'm gonna give you all those selfish blessings too. So he had no enemies during his reign. Solomon had no one he fought with. He had more gold there than basically anybody ever in all of history. He had so much gold that silver wasn't even considered like worth anything then. He was so wise that people were in awe of what he said. Like, and then you look at the Bible, there's some like awe-inspiring things Solomon said. You can read it in Ecclesiastes and Psalms and stuff, and in Proverbs. And what else? And God gave him the harem of women. Like he gave him 1,000, like 700 wives and the 300 concubines, 300 wives, 700 concubines. Like I don't really want 1,000 wives. I just want one really bomb girl. Like pretty. Like I like chesty girls, but I mean like that's me. Everybody's different. And like I just want a bomb girl. It's like it's just one girl. I don't need 1,000 girls, but the God's like, boom, saw me get 1,000 girls. 1,000 women to make love to. And it's like that's not really a fantasy of mine. I mean, nah. But like it's like I just want like one girl. Cause like imagine like having 1,000 people, you have to remember all your like running jokes and stuff. Like that's why cheaters get caught, right? It's hey, remember the time? Remember that time when we were out golfing, like miniature golfing, and you tripped into the fountain, and like I picked you up and kissed your hand. It's like that never happened. Oh, that was Shirley. My bad. That's how people get caught. So like when you have one person you build your life with, all your running jokes, all your companionship, all that stuff is there. You just want one person, but some got all that stuff because it was just like a super blessing. God wanted to show the real and that this guy gets everything a guy could possibly ever dream of or wish for, just because he did the honorable thing, right? But today, people in today's culture, they just want to rule. Like there's some people just want to rule. They want the benefits of having all the gold, all the women, all the respect, but being like total jerks and not don't care about give a damn about the people. Like Venezuela robbed their people, right? They print money. They print so much money that everybody else's money just is worthless. So they just robbed everybody who had money and then used it for themselves. And they spend it on stupid stuff. So like the country doesn't even like sustain itself. So like there's a lot of countries that are just terrible. Zimbabwe did that. Zimbabwe just is a corrupt dictator. Let's just burn us down. You have like Iran, like Iran's pushing terrorism, right? Like the areas around them like destabilized, 1,000 miles of radius around them. Anybody that's not completely secure, you might come like get like attacked by like a guy with machine guns, get raped, get stolen, abducted, sold into slavery. That's what the Muslims do right now, over because Iran's marching orders, like the state-sponsored terrorism, and like you think like Germany. World War II Germany, they were a threat. You think, to take over the world with their big army, but like Iran pushes fear and control, right? And fear is more powerful than a big army. So Iran's actually a bigger threat than you think. Um, like I said, CNN used to cover terrorism, right? Let's go back to CNN. CNN used to cover terrorist incidents, and like this is bad, this is terrible. We're covering it. But you know what happened is they're on the ground. These CNN agents on the ground, and some guy comes up alongside of him, puts his hand around, and has this gun. He's like, "Hey, I'm a liberator, dude, and I have a gun. You're on my side, right?" And then this guy's like, "Dude, I'm supposed to be just like photographing wildlife. It's not supposed to be interfering with what I'm doing." He's like, "I guess we're on your side." It's like, "You better paint a good picture of who I am, or you're going down," right? So CNN stopped covering terrorism, right? CNN won't say something bad against terrorism because the terrorists have CNN where they want them, right? Like people are afraid of the terrorists. Like we live in big glass buildings, and the terrorists know exactly where our offices are, so we can't say anything bad against terrorism. That's part of the agenda of conquering the world by fear. If no one can speak out against you, then no one can. Then it spirals. Like this can get conquered, this person gets conquered. Like it's just a spiral effect. Like the world can get conquered by fear. It's something that happens. What was the other thing I was going to say? It's along lines of I don't know. There's one more topic I wanted to come across, but I'm just going to cut this out right now. So don't fear. Don't protest America. When you protest America, you're promoting Iran, like control, and China's harvest your organs. Don't protest America. America's a great place, man. You get to choose what you want to do for a living. Food's cheap. You can have ice cream. You can have pizza. You can play video games. Like, dude, video gamers just stay out of everybody's face, right? They just play their video games and enjoy life. A lot of people hate that because, you know, They want to see people like caught in the rat race, right? Check out the rat race, play some video games, make some friends. It's awesome, man. That's the way to be. Not power tripping over wanting to control the world, like causing race riots because you want to be the leader of the United States. It's like, come on, dude. That's like evil emperor stuff, dude. Like, it's like Emperor Palpatine, man. Like that's what we got going with Joe Biden. It's sick. It's sick. Like he like we'll just review it. Let's close it. Let's close it by reviewing like exactly what happened. Like the economy is intertwined. Gotta make socks in another country. Saves us money. A researcher might save money, have money to go in, and like an undergrad, doesn't have a lot of money, go in, find a research, research or get a breakthrough, right? So the sock maker is like this like dedicated sock maker doesn't make a lot of money, could actually help research, right? But the brick thrower throws a brick into the researcher's car. Boom! Can't go in there. Can't go to the research. Can't go to the hospital. Can't like go to the hospital to help people or something. No, it's not a hospital. Let's just say doesn't go in the office to research, right? They'll find some way to get to the hospital if you're a doctor. But like don't go into research because your car is like torched, right? So like brick throwers can actually hurt research. Hurt disease research. So don't be a rioter. And remember, Democrats give CNN marching orders. CNN's a master puppeteer of society. Everything they play a spin on it. So CNN knew by rubbing your face in hate, they would cause people to hate back. CNN did this on purpose in order to cause race riots, Operation USA race riots. And that was under marching orders of Joe Biden and Nanci Pelosi, the Democrats who tell CNN what to do. You can Google it, man. Democrats tell CNN what to do. And it's so obvious. I'm surprised people don't talk about this. All right, God bless you guys. Always live in love. Don't worry. Like most people aren't racist, dude. Like there's millions of loving things that happen today. Sure, there might be thousands of hateful things that happen today, but there's millions of loving things. Most people I know love people. Like I said, I know 500 people. 499 aren't racist. That's basically no one's a racist anymore. No one. Like there's might be a couple people, and don't get me wrong. Racism is evil. It's bad when it happens, but it's almost like getting hit with a meteor, right? Like. It's not, the meteor showers aren't happening, but like if it does hit you, it's terrible. But like it's not that often, right? So there's so many loving people out there, so many more people that are loving than are hateful. Don't get in your mind that everybody's a hater. If you get in your mind that everybody's a hater, then in your mind everybody's a hater, and you can't escape your mind prison of looking around and saying everybody hates me. Because probably they don't. They probably love you, man. Just go talk. Let's have small talk. Let's socialize with everybody. Let people in front of you in lines when you go to the grocery store. Open doors for people. Show total respect for people. Then you're loved, and then they're loved. Let's show the love. Jesus Christ says, "Love your neighbor." Right? It's the mission. So, amen. God bless, man.